everyone for being here. I'd like to see a full crowd. For our first order of business, the approval of the minutes, we are going to table that. Move on to approval of the bills and warrants.
I make a motion that we approve the bills and warrants. I second.
Any comments, questions?
Monica? Yes. Colleen? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes. Okay. Public participation on non-agenda items. Again, we're glad you're here. I'll give you a little preliminary. Come up, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Come up to the podium, state your name. If what you have to say seems like it's even slightly related to something on the agenda, please wait for that so we can participate as a board. What you say during this time, we cannot talk back and forth. Okay?
Okay.
Coming up to
We
the
have
podium.
the playground on the agenda.
Do you wanna come up to the podium, say your name? So we have people that get to watch on the video, we wanna make sure they get to see who you are. So what is your name?
Joanne Baker.
Do you have a question?
I have comments. Okay, I'm Joanne Baker, and once again, I will be talking about the Plains Elementary Playground being closed to the public. When I came down to the school board this summer in June, I had just found out about the playground closure. I expressed my dissatisfaction with this decision. I said I hadn't heard anything or read anything regarding this decision. I asked if there was any public input into this matter. I was told that the decision was made during a school board meeting about a year ago. I started looking back on the 2023-2024 school board minutes to find out more information about the playground closure to the public. The only information that I could gather was that the fence that surrounded the playground was being worked on and that it was completed in August 2024. I never saw in the minutes that there was any mention or motion made to close off the playground to the public. I did find out that this playground fence was built with COVID ESSER 3 funds and that there were certain stipulations or mandates that needed to be followed when you receive these ESSER 3 funding from the federal government. The more I researched these mandates, I felt like these mandates weren't followed. I'm nervous, sorry. Hence, that is why I'm speaking here tonight. The Plains School District was allocated over $1 million in ESSER 3 funds from the federal government. With these ESSER 3 funds, old superintendent wanted to develop an alternative learning center and to purchase any neighboring homes that may be for sale in an effort to recruit and retain quality teaching staff. The old superintendent retired though. The ESSER 3 plan was changed when the new superintendent started her new job in Plains School District. She chose a safety and security project scope plan. With this new plan in place, Plains School was required to review and update their plans at least every 6 months, incorporating public input when deciding on necessary revisions. The document that I handed out is entitled Federal COVID Funding for Education, Community Engagement Requirements for ESSER 3 funds. This document states that there are to be 30 hours of meaningful consultation with your stakeholders who are students, families, community members, teachers, principals, school staff and their unions, and district administrators, among others. I do not know if the correct procedure was followed with enough meetings, revisions, and updates, since I was not able to find hardly any information about the playground being closed to the public.
We have about 10 seconds, just so.
Okay, last paragraph. Therefore, I am requesting a public information request commonly known as the Freedom of Information Act. This request will be submitted this week. I am looking for meetings that were held if the playground closure was actually discussed with a fair amount of stakeholders Present means students, families, community members, parents, principals, and administrators, etc.
So your time is up, but I think that's something you can do right in the district office.
Yes, and then I will be back when I find out the information, and I will let you know what I
Thank you.
found out,
Thank you.
cause I don't think it was
Any more
followed.
public comment on non-agenda items? Come on right up to the podium, state your name.
Erica Lawyer, there was lots of talk about bringing back the coffee cup tournament, and now we've heard nothing about it, and it's gonna be here before we know it, and I'm just hoping that's not a missed opportunity. So do we hopefully have updates at some point that that's actually gonna happen?
Can you answer that?
I don't even expect an answer, I
No,
caught
it's
you
okay.
off guard, I'm just,
No,
I'm
it's
just
okay.
hoping it bubbles to the
Right.
top
It's in
again.
your- Okay, it's in his report, absolutely,
Awesome.
thank you, Erica. Any other public comments? Okay, we will move on. Okay. Reports, superintendent.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's hard to believe that we're on we're at the beginning of another school year. It seems like the other one never really closed out because everyone's been so very, very busy. Our teachers, our staff. Just an update on 8/13, we had an opening for the Harmony program, information day over at the pavilion. They hosted it there, so it would be in a nice area. What we have presently are 5 people that signed up directly and 3 pending. The other 3 who are joining, we just have to wait for some more paperwork. So they were happy with the outcome. They said some schools they get 1 interest at first. It will be ongoing. It will continue to be able to register and serve the children. Thank you to the principals who showed up and who were there. Certainly thank you to Catherine who took notes along with Emery from the Harmony program. So again, it's moving slowly, but consistency and following the rules and regulations will be of help. Our 4-year-old program is we have 10 slots. We've hit our 10 slots. We're beginning a little wait list. Maybe, I don't know if Mr. Meredith will want to talk more about that when he shares information. But that program's going to start for our 4-year-olds. It'll be from 12:30 to 3:30, and they will have the opportunity to get their foot in the door and certainly to help our families, help our parents who need help with childcare in the afternoons or anytime. But that's very exciting. So that's another new program we're going to be bringing on in September. Last year I applied for a grant called Operation Warm Coat, and I did not receive it, so I applied again this year and I received it. And what that does is, that allows me to purchase, Jack, new coats for our children's size 2T to 18, and it's $8 a coat, and it's supplemented by grants from other places up to $15 or $20. So they come in boxes of 12, and 12 girl coats, 12 boy coats, 12 mixed. And we're looking forward to, I'm talking to the principals, I've talked to some of the teachers, how can we get some of these coats? We have a lot. The community is a very generous community, and they have many, many things for our children, but just to, maybe we'll have an operation, share the warmth day and bring everything out and share it with the community. So I'm gonna be reaching out to some folks. I'm not gonna bombard the same people who give all the time. I'm gonna hit a new crowd and see if they would like to donate. $96 would be a box of 12 coats. And we're allowed up to 500 coats. I'm not looking for 500 coats, but I'm gonna hinge that with our trunk or treat that will be coming up in October. So if anyone wants to donate a bag of candy here or glow sticks there, we'll start early so as not to burden the community, because everyone here gives all the time. That's been my experience. So those are just some good things. The other thing is that hopefully at our September board meeting, which is the 15th. I will be able to ask the board to approve a business manager pending fingerprints and background checks. So we'll be able to engage a new business manager and start the training so that we can get back on track and make sure that all of our gaps are filled and we're moving forward. The other thing, just if I may, the playground issue has been addressed since the first time it was brought up here. It's something we wanted, and it's been unfortunately in the hands of 2 lawyers, the district's lawyer and the city's lawyer. And as late as last Thursday, we were asking them, hey, we have a board meeting on the 18th, we want to give the public, we have the signs already printed up for opening it and doing the whole thing. So I just want to let you know that that's the update. We're in limbo as much as everybody else is, waiting for these lawyers to come and cross the T's and dot the I's. But it wasn't a lost, we addressed it the day it was brought up here at the board meeting. The next day we were on it. Just so you know that, the community knows that.
Actually, I spoke to the mayor before it was brought up at the first board meeting.
But it's only open during the summer. It is not open during the 9 months of the school year, what I saw.
And that was the problem that we've been trying to push them on, and it's been very, very frustrating to us, because we thought it would be a no-brainer. You know, it was wanted, the board supported it, the community wanted it, and we went out and did steps that we had to take. Once again, caught up in bureaucracy and dragging the system out, so, you know, I'm sorry for that, but there certainly was no ill intent that we were trying to stymie it or hold it back, once again.
Thank you. Kevin?
Okay.
You're next.
I do not have a lot to report on right now, other than, we have a lot to do to get the year started. And, a lot of the preparations have been happening between Dr. Fettinger and I, and we've been spending quite a bit of our time looking at staffing and making sure we're getting up on staffing for the year. Dr. Walsh mentioned that we do have a new pre-K program this year, and it's the first one, to my knowledge, in our school. We had 10 students signed up. That's the max. That's as many as we can have with one staff member, with one teacher. So I would say at this point, we feel like that has been a pretty good success, and probably will report on that throughout the year so that you guys are kept in the loop on what that looks like. Normally at this time, I usually have a newsletter for you. It is done, it's ready to go out. There's a couple of things on there that are dependent upon some of the things that may happen in this meeting, and so I will have that pushed out tomorrow after this meeting occurs. And it's got a lot of information for parents and family members, just with the back to school year started. So, and with that, last thing is, for all of the folks in here that got back to school packets and all the mailings and things, that is from Miss Catherine, so thank you, Catherine, for all of your hard work. Even though we're on school summer break in the summertime, there's one person that's definitely not, and that's Miss Catherine. So thank you, Miss Catherine, for all of your hard work. Appreciate
Thank you, Kevin. Dr. Bender?
Okay, so
Hold
not
on,
a
wait a
lot.
minute, we had a question?
Do we have more kids that were wanting to join, but we were limited at accepting 10?
You would think that'd be a yes and no question. We are a little over 10 as far as the amount of students, yes.
Okay.
So some of as far as the 10 number, that is what was set by the state for the pre-K program. We have had a couple show interest. One of the good things about the program is after this year we can reevaluate, and also we have started a waiting list. And so for folks and parents that have expressed interest that maybe their child did not make this first registration, there is a waiting list. And so, you know, we have students drop throughout the year, and if that occurs, then the next one bumps in.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Bender?
Okay, like Mr. Meredith, there's not a lot of new news because we are just starting school. We do have the possibility of some slight schedule adjustments, so we haven't pushed out the schedules for students to register in particular periods of classes. We do have our classes that are being offered out, so hopefully by the end of the workday on Wednesday, we'll have schedules finalized. When Mr. Allen is back in his office, we can work with the guidance counselor on that, so we're just kind of waiting a little bit for that. The PTA has graciously agreed to feed our teachers on Friday during open house, so thank you for the PTA for that. And yeah, we're just looking for a really good start of the school year. Excited about it. It'll be a good year.
Do we know how many students are enrolled, high school and elementary?
This is a really hard time of year to
Because it's still
give that.
fluctuating?
Yeah, because what we generally see is our numbers are usually a little bit elevated, because we have received all of the students that maybe have moved over the summer and they've come in to register here. But the students that usually leave us, it seems that a lot of times we don't get that notification until mid-September.
Okay.
So sometimes the September enrollment can be deceiving, because it's usually higher than what we actually have. So right now, our enrollment is looking higher. Hopefully that stays, but it generally, you know, the shuffle is usually October is the most accurate enrollment numbers.
Thank
What
you.
is it today? Kevin, what is it today? I mean, your
high
I
estimate.
was just looking at the enrollment today. You know what?
I could give you what.
It's
we
a
have right
hard
now.
number to give this time of year.
Not speaking to those variables which you say are very real and will impact, but
Yeah.
junior high is 79, elementary is 220, and high is 7 to 12 is 115 at this point. Knowing that it may drop or increase.
We're always grateful at the board meetings
Or
when the
increase.
actual enrollment we get.
But
from
Mr.
the
Meredith
board.
is very, very, on top of these numbers, and he'll have it for you once it's settled, the dust is settled.
Do you wanna come up to the podium?
Well, Mary got to ask a question, so I just assumed I was just informally asking. When the schedules come out, can the kids register for more than one MTDA class?
Yes.
Okay, because my daughter had a problem when she put her desired classes down, it like defaulted and would only let her do one. So I was wondering, does she need to come in and do that, or can she just still do that all online?
It should be able to all be done online.
Online,
So
okay.
we have a 2-week grace period after the start of school, so we
Okay.
can tweak the schedules as needed.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm sorry I missed Mary speaking, I didn't call on her to speak, but let's make sure we use the podium so everyone can see and everyone follows the same protocol. Just so it's all equitable. Dr. Walsh, you want to say
Yeah, I
something?
just wanna, I know a lot of, discussion has been around our music program, and we have had that posted for a very long time, and thanks to the great efforts of our principals, we possibly will have someone who will be able to teach 3 periods, if I'm correct, the junior high band, high school band, and the chorus. So we're looking at working that out, because I know that's of value to the people and the kids love it, so we wanna see that we're doing that. So right now, we're working that through, going through there was an informal conversation, someone willing to share their talent, someone, now we would do an emergency license, and then prior to that, they'll have a formal interview, because everyone will have a formal interview. But I just wanted you to know, because I know to some people, that music gap is a real concern. So that will be, and it might only be till February with that person, but that will still give us some more time, and there'll be graduates in December on the program, so there'll be another pool that we can grab from. So, we're gonna keep working on that, to straighten the program.
Russell?
I don't have a whole lot yet either. Over the summer, MHSA changed our program for scheduling and getting our officials in, so it's a little bit of a learning curve with that. Lots of emails from pretty much all the ADs in the division, just about every day for now. Practice started on Friday, and 3 out of our 4 fall sports all saw an increase in participation, so that's really nice to see. And then on the coffee cup, we do have a couple schools interested. I'm trying to find one more, and we also have a donor that has offered some money to cover officiating costs so that we can keep the entry fee down.
And then Larry Joe's not here, do we have anything? No. That's food services. Okay, on to unfinished business. Consideration and possible action on approval of the 2025-2026 Plains K-12 school budget. And we tabled that from the last one, so we could have some questions answered. So let's start with the motion and the second, so we can discuss.
I make a motion that we approve the 25-26 school budget.
I second it.
Okay, so we had some questions that were submitted to you, Glenn. Do you wanna give us some of that information that was asked?
Okay, so I was asked if we looked at a breakdown of the general fund at the information meeting a week or 10 days ago. And I was asked about that same breakdown for the other funds. And I will share that with you. I need to convert them all to PDFs because I don't really want to send them out in spreadsheet format because they will be changed. And I just want to make sure that information remains sound. So I will do that after we get an adoption, because we may make some changes and, this evening, and I wanna have the final numbers when I send those out. But yes, I've created for each fund, line item detailed budget that can be shared. And And then the question about the overrun in the 24-25 school year and, what might have been the issue there. We talked about that today and we didn't identify, you know, a single expenditure that might have contributed to that. It was really just basically paying the bills, right? So, and it worked out well this year because we did have some revenues in those Medicaid, in IDEA B and IDEA preschool that we wanted to keep in the district and use for the district. And so that money was available to pay, for the overrun. And if we hadn't had that, we probably would have held back some of the June bills. But then that would have just pushed them into July and pushed the problem down the road, which isn't necessarily a solution. So, and then, you know, the question about, you know, how can we keep that from happening again, because we've used up what, you know, reserves or savings that we had. So, I would propose a monthly budget report, and I'm just gonna put it on the board there behind you, which is a little hard to see. But you've seen this same document. This is basically the document I used to create your budget. And so the budgets are already plugged in here. Here's your expenditures through August, through today. And then that shows what the balance of your budgets are and what percentage is remaining. And so through August, we have 83% of the year remaining, and we have 94% of the general fund, 99% of the transportation, that sort of thing. So you'll be able to see this on a monthly basis. You know, are we keeping pace with the amount of the year that remains? And I think this would help guide you in watching for an overrun in expenditures. And the only fund we had an issue in was the general fund. All of the other funds had cash remaining at the end of the year and budget remaining. But we'll provide this monthly budget report and keep you abreast of what it looks like on a month-to-month basis. And you will have seen these numbers numerous times, so you'll start to, you know what you're expecting. But that would be, you know, probably the most prominent thing that we could do to make certain that we don't overspend again. The other thing is that the line item budgets will be shared with the different departments, and their bottom line will be their bottom line. You can spend, you know, between the items that you have available, like supplies and small equipment and library books and that sort of thing. So you can spend, you're not tied to the original budget for each of those items, but as long as you don't spend more than your bottom line, we should be fine. And, then there was a question about the mill levies over the last 10 years, and they're up there. So, in 2016, mills, you levied 184 mills, 165, 169, 165, in the 150s there, 123, and then you've actually been levying, you know, last year you were down to 112 mills, and then this year a potential of 142 mills. And two things are driving that increase. One is the tuition fund, which was brand new. That was new legislation. You don't have any choice on that. You're going to pay tuition for your students that are attending another school. And they're going to do likewise. If they have some of their students attending your school, they're gonna pay you tuition. And those bills, those invoices have been created and sent out to the school districts, and you're required to pay them. So you don't really have an option not to levy for that. And then the other potential increase was tuition fund to help cover some of the special education costs. And we did a full-on calculation on those costs and what would be allowed by law to help assist in the cost of special education. And that's that potentially $161,000 levy in the tuition. So, that 10-year look at the mills, you're down considerable over time you've been. But the thing that contributes to that a lot are changes in your taxable value, right? So this year, your taxable value went from $10 million to $9 million. So if your mill is worth less money, that translates into more mills. So that 10-year look doesn't really tell you a lot. We would probably need to look at actual dollars levied and then mills levied, and to really get a good picture, because, and the changes in taxable values. So, but anyway, I did share that email. Maybe Lana can share it with the rest of you. I think I shared it just with people that were on the original email, Lana, this afternoon, with those questions. No, not everyone was on it, just you, Dr. Walsh, Colleen, and I got that. So if you wanna share it with the rest, with those 3 questions. So I think those were the only questions that we had.
And then Monica, you had a question that you submitted. Do you have the, which one was that? I think that was about what I talked to you about too, the amount, and Mark had the same question.
Oh, the amount. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
for 100,000.
Yeah, so, I think you have this in front of you too, but in the column, you probably can see the columns J, where we have the levy for 25 and 26. That total levy is 142.64 mills. Last year it was 112.93 mills. So our mills are up by $29.71. The cost to the taxpayer, based on the assessment of a home of $100,000, is $22.58 for the entire year. So those 29 mills will cost, and obviously, you probably have few homes that are worth $100,000, but if you have a $300,000 home, you multiply that times 3, and there's your tax increase for the year. So that's if we go full on with tuition, adult ed for to match your advanced opportunities grant, and the building reserve option, where the state will contribute $98,000 if you contribute $34,000. And those are the 3 kind of places where you had decisions to make and can make tonight. So in talking about the tuition, so $161,000 is the maximum that you can go. And that's 17.5 mills, and it would be $13.34 on a home valued at $100,000. So probably you have more homes in the $300,000 range, so that if we go full on for tuition, it'll be about a $39 a year tax increase. And then I gave an option of $60,000, $90,000, and $120,000 up here on my screen, and you can see it goes from the $60,000 levy would be $4.97, and the $90,000 would be $7.46, and the $120,000 would be $9.94. So, and I think that little chart is on, yeah, it's kind of in the middle of that handout that we gave you, because I know it is hard to see on the screen, but there's a little box there that talks about tuition options, and then the number of mills, and then the cost on a $100,000 home. So that is the other question, and that was a very good question, because that really does kind of put it in perspective, so I appreciate the request on that. And they were all good questions. I mean, you know, the goal being that you understand more and more about your budget and how you can affect it and that sort of thing, so.
When, you know, last year we had an overrun of almost $200,000, and I understand, you know, you attributed that to increases in operational costs. But I still would like to say, as we spoke earlier, a breakdown of what specific categories of operational costs were underestimated and overspent. Because until we really understand that, it's hard to be confident that the current budget is valid. The
can provide you with that. The budget that you will adopt tonight isn't revenue budget. The line item expenditure budget is really, an administrative tool and responsibility. And certainly, you know, we've created one and you have access to it, but just for clarification, tonight, what you're adopting is the revenue side of it. You're saying, you know, we are going to garner enough revenue to fund this $5.4 million worth of budgeted funds. And so, you know, in the interest of adopting this budget tonight, you're adopting the revenue side. So we have time to look at the expenditure side more thoroughly and make some changes in the line item expenditure budget. So we'll provide you with some information to make it so that you are informed and you can still affect the expenditure side of the budget.
There's still a concern about the revenue side in that we're basically, asking the taxpayers to assume the burden of last year's overrun, which is a little concerning. I think that's gonna be a bit unpopular, even though when we look at $22, that doesn't sound like a lot. It's still, anytime people see a raise in their taxes, they're not happy about that. And when a member of the public asks me why, their taxes went up because of decisions that we made, I would like to have an answer, and I don't really feel like I have yet.
Yeah, I'm not certain that your statement about the fact that next year's budget is going to fund that overrun. That overrun was completely funded with cash that you had on hand, right? So we're not going into the new year with a deficit. And tonight, we're gonna transfer some expenditures, about $35,000 in expenditures, into the interlocal agreement fund where you also have revenue. So we covered all of those bills. They did exceed the budget, but our new budget isn't an increase of the $200,000. Your new budget is only an increase of $89,000, which is what the law allowed. So I'm not sure that's completely accurate, that this year's budget is paying for last year's overruns, because you did have revenues on hand to cover those. And we're not increasing this year's budget by $200,000 because of that overrun. But I understand what you're saying. It's all gonna result in an increase to your taxpayers, and the biggest portion of that is going to be the special ed tuition fund. But the legislature allows you to levy because they realize that the state funding for special education does not cover special education costs. And you've been absorbing those into your general fund and actually cutting into the cost of regular education. You've been absorbing that for quite a long time because you haven't accessed the special ed levy option. And now you've just come to the point where you can't do that anymore, right? The expenditures have gotten to the point where you have to levy to cover those costs. And the proof in that was that when we did the calculations for the special education levy, we literally looked at students who are on your special education caseload, and we figured out exactly what it costs to educate them. And then we're levying the amount over and above what the state gives you. So they recognize they're not giving you enough money to actually adequately educate your special needs students. And so this avenue's been open to you for at least 5 to 7 years, and you've done very well to absorb it. And that very well could be contributing to your overrun, because it just was there year over year and you just didn't go there. And so you were absorbing it in your general fund, and those costs grow. And that could, if you started levying back, 6 years ago, I think you've been very good stewards of your taxpayer dollars by waiting 7 years before you actually access that opportunity. So I think your board is very frugal, and maybe a little bit to a fault where we kind of got behind a little bit. So and again, I understand the increase, and the $161,000 is the maximum, but you could go halfway and then go the other half next year to kind of level things out if you'd like to. We certainly talked about that option. And that's why I did the different options with 161,000, 120, and so on. We do know that right now, our general fund budget is, over by about $95,000. And that's based on some nailing down a few more numbers on salaries and that sort of thing. So we do need to, we're gonna need to fill that somehow, so, but maybe in the $100,000 range, and then next year you go to the 160, or, I think that's definitely a viable option, and then you'll have your services covered.
We did dip into our contingencies to cover last year, so this year we have far less contingency.
Yes.
Is that not true?
Yeah, the biggest contingency that you tapped into was Title I dollars, and remember, you were carrying over Title I dollars, IDEA B, and IDEA preschool. And that's really not a good idea. We learned, a couple of weeks ago in a training by the OPI, that when you carry over those dollars, they go, maybe Plains doesn't really need those dollars. And it actually is one of the black marks against you that will put you on an at-risk list. So that needed to be cleared up anyway. And at the same time, you were gonna join the co-op, and then it was gonna be, okay, how do we shuffle those dollars to the co-op, and they shuffle them back, and it felt more responsible to use those in Plains, not send them to the co-op, and the co-op send them back, and then people are like, well, what happened to that money? Did we really get it back? Kind of thing. So it was actually a good time for this all to come together, in my opinion. And then we are tapping about $37,000 out of your interlocal agreement fund that would have stayed there in your savings account. Yes, that is completely accurate. But the other pieces of the bulk of the overrun was covered by kind of a place where you really needed to clean up a little bit. So I think you did okay.
Any other questions, comments? Mike, can you come up to the podium?
It's hard for him to get up there.
I just had a question about, I think she did a good job explaining it there at the end, but, if memory served me correct, some of the overrun was, funneled with some of that, title money, Medicaid money.
Well,
I know that that's memory serves me correct. That's a different kind of money, and I know there's some different guidelines about where that money can be used, or it used to be. Cause I know we were very careful if we had an overrun, and we had some of that title money or federal money, state education money. That's a different kind of money, and I would just caution to be careful, how you use that when you have an overrun. Because that's not typically the kind of money that you have up there. There are some guidelines, and it's been a while since I've been in there, but I know there's some guidelines for that money, and, if you use the word abuse it, but if you abuse that money, there can be some consequences for that down the road, so.
we didn't actually tap any Medicaid. That was a misspeak on my part.
Okay,
We
that's
tapped-
what I heard you saying,
Yeah,
that's what.
we tapped
I
special
figured.
education though, which has the
Okay.
same,
The
but-
Medicaid was one.
yeah, special
red
education
flag kind of one.
title, and we followed all the guidelines. And
Okay.
you're required to spend a certain level of special education, and you've done that and then some. So, yeah, we absolutely paid attention to all of the guidelines, and we actually, I think, were more in the negligent area by carrying it over from year to year, because they're like, okay, here's your special ed allowance, but you didn't use it, you just kept carrying it over, and like I said, that was not a good practice, and we took care of it, and, but yeah, we were definitely
Oh,
careful.
when you said the Medicaid, that kind of.
Yeah, that was a misspeak on my part. It was special education, and I used the word Medicaid, so. And you actually have a pretty good reserve in both of your Medicaid accounts, so.
So if I understand what you said, Gwen, tonight we're basically, deciding on the revenue side of our
Yes.
budget, and that will include the decisions we have to make about the mill levy.
Yes.
Before we do the expenditure side of our budget, will we have the information about what specific categories were underestimated and overspent last year so that we can come up with a real realistic, that side of the
Yep.
budget?
Would you come to the podium? Don't forget to say your name.
Need a reminder. Just a quick question, I'm asking this so I understand the general public. There's a couple things here, obviously, taking a look at this, it doesn't sound like, number one, there was a general budget overall for numerous years, and just coming in here today, I'm just trying to gain some understanding. And taking a look at it, there wasn't like a month, there was just a year end, so it's kind of like giving a kid an allowance, saying you have $12,000 to spend, on a brand new car, and the kid's like, perfect, I'm gonna spend $13,500 all in like the first week, and then you have the rest of the 12 months to spend. So I guess as somebody who's looking at that money, who is a contributor, tax-wise, obviously, in this situation, number one, do we have that historical data to go ahead and take a look at that, so we can take a look at, previous, records for trends, for increases of different types of budgets, maybe, so we can understand where those increases, and if it is a general budget concern, that we can take a look at it and understand this is a natural trend at a certain type of percentage, so it's easier for us to, when we pay, to swallow. And then number two, to kind of maybe help us understand maybe possibly some of the new outliers that we're looking at. So talking about, we were just talking about the tuition, that would be a huge one for us to have to take a look at too. When we're having to swallow something like, we'll get an increase on our bottom line. Anyway, those are just some questions that I had. If that information is used to the general public.
Yeah, you can make that information available. The other thing that is affecting your budget authority and your overruns is your enrollment. So your enrollment is on its way down, right? And your expenditures are not on their way down,
Oh,
right?
I get that 100%,
Yeah,
but in that
so-
percent, I always look at it percentage-wise, right? You
Yeah.
can't look at it one-to-one necessarily in that same bracket, but if you're looking at it percentage-wise, it makes it easier for everybody to kind of understand and see.
Yeah, so we'll look at the line item expenditure budget. And the other piece on the question on the tuition, you really don't have any control over it. Literally, parents are making decisions about where their child's going to enroll in school, and you're going to pay the bill, and you don't have any control at all over it. And that was a legislative decision, so when the bills come rolling in, you're gonna levy whatever you have or required to pay. And so that one, and as far as a trend, this is the first year that that's been in effect, so there's no history on that. And it will be all over the map. I mean, yeah, I've seen huge, tens of thousands of dollars going out of school districts to the neighboring schools. And so that one is, there's no historical data, and you're just gonna have to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Thank you so much for taking the question. Like I said, to take a look at it on the map to see, month by month expenditures or expected expenditures for that over under. It's helpful to understand exactly what your budget. So anyway, just food for thought. Thank you.
It sounds like we have a board that really wants to know all that too, so to do another budget workshop on the expenditure side like we did on the revenue side, I think would be really helpful, which is always open to the public.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wrote it down.
One thing about the process we're having right now is we have a motion on the table to approve the budget, but before we can do that, don't we have to make a decision about what levy we want?
So it would have to be amended to add in which tuition option.
Yeah, we
But
would
we
have
wanted
to.
to have that so we could have the
Yeah.
discussion, correct?
But we do have to amend the motion and
To which
levy
tuition option.
we want to.
And did you say there was something else in there besides the tuition option that we're supposed to be?
Well, the building reserve, and that's the option where the state will contribute almost $100,000 if you contribute 34. And if you don't contribute your 34, you're gonna get zero from the state. And that's to me, that one's a no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, okay. And then the tuition, we don't have an option on. Oh, the other one was is the adult ed portion to complement your advanced opportunity grant. you have the opportunity to levy another 25% to enhance that grant, which I think has done a lot of good in your school district in the last year. And we're talking 20, what are we talking on that? I think we're at like $2,500 for that match. So, but you could decide you're not going to match if you choose not to. So those were the three: building reserve, the tuition, and then that adult ed match for the advanced opportunity grant.
And so if I'm reading this correct, the adult education grant match is 16 cents a year on a $100,000 home. Is that what this 0.16 on the right?
That's the mills.
Oh, that's the mills. Okay.
Yeah, and so, well, and that's the mills from last year. The mills you're approving tonight are in that solid yellow levy for 25-26, and that adult ed is 1.35 mills. And you can see that you're, based on this 29 mills for $22, you can just kind of extrapolate, well, $1 is, you're paying about 85 cents for mill. So, 90 cents.
Okay, any other comments before we start voting on this? So I would entertain a motion. Well, I guess Monica, you made the motion, correct? So, we'll go with you amending it, and then we'll vote on your amended motion.
Yeah, and then I'll just pick which one I think we should do.
Yeah, so you would be making the motion, do you want to approve it as it was presented, which then you don't have to make any changes?
Okay.
Or do you want to amend it to change any of those options for the mills that we're doing?
Okay, I would like to add the mills to it. I'd like to go for the full amount.
Okay, so just, you would like to adopt it as it was presented, this includes all of the mills
Yes.
maxed out? Okay. Robert, are you okay seconding
I
that?
second it.
Okay. Then we will vote on the, proposed budget as it was presented.
Yes.
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes. Yes. Consideration and possible action for permission to transfer funds in the interlocal agreement fund to the general fund in the amount of $35,063.26. Entertain a motion for that.
I move that we transfer funds in the interlocal agreement fund to the general fund in the amount of $35,063.26.
I'll second.
Any comments, questions about that? Okay.
Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration and possible action to accept the MOU with Revere Transportation. Entertain a motion for that.
I make a motion that we, accept the MOU with Revere Transportation.
I second.
Any questions, comments?
And how long is this, in standing for?
This would be until the end of his contract in 2027.
Monica?
Yes.
Colleen? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes. Okay, new business. Alright, so this is the really fun part of board meetings where we get to honor our students who are doing amazing things. This is pretty awesome. So we're going to recognize some students tonight. Do you have the list? I don't have the students list in front of me. Oh, right there, okay. Okay, yeah, we'll use Colleen's. Okay, so we're going to start with the National Skills USA participants. So I'm gonna read your name, come on up, and Monica has an award for you. So Clinton Wiedemann. Brian Lacko. competition if you didn't get that when I first started. Gary Rabine. Some of the students are out at sports and things, so unfortunately we're back to the full swing of it. Kyler Banout. Emmeline Russell. Haley Collette. Kiara Brown. Asher Seymour. Aaron Birkenbrock. About the competition that you participated in?
Those guys wanna say something? Trista?
What's that? Would you guys like to say something about the Skills USA and why these kids are getting, I know, we're putting you on the spot. Share with everybody.
Do you want me at the podium or in a sketch?
Right up here would be great.
So all of these kids did really amazing things at state first. They went and competed in their competitions and they all did different things. All 11 or 10 of the junior high actually qualified for nationals, but they could only participate in one event each. So based on teams, only 7 out of 10 got to go, which is still a really good number. The boys, Clinton, Brian, and Gary actually placed 3rd at nationals and got to go down. In team engineering challenge, and they spent 2 days like really working hard to engineer what was within the schematic and everything. So competed against, I can't remember how many other kids. Did a really good job, super proud of them all. And all of the junior high placed top 10 at nationals also, so that was really awesome. Asher and Kaylin both did really excellent also. There's more competition, I guess, at the high school level because you get more of like the 53 competitors, but I think this sets them up to really like excel later on in the program, so, yeah. Thanks, Teresa.
Okay, and we have one more student to recognize. This is the first place national winner for the Elks Essay Contest, and that is Palmer Revere. They don't pose long enough for a picture.
They work so fast.
I don't want to be up here at all. Look forward to many more recognitions in the coming months. All right, request to review and consider software change to Black Mountain. Okay, so this was a request to give us information and to kind of explain why this might be a good move for our school district. Instead of Tyler Technologies, I think is who we use now. Okay, so Gwen, you want to share with us?
Yes, so you've had Tyler Technologies for a lot of years, 20 plus years. And when you first started it, it was CSA, and I think fit your district very well. It's been sold 5 or 6 times. They've tacked every place that's bought them and tacked things onto it, but never really reworked it. So it's got some really old practices, accounting practices in it, like you have to do manual journal vouchers and other software will just do those for you in the course of business. You spend $25,500 a year on Tyler Technologies, and Black Mountain, which is the one that we're suggesting, would cost you about $16,750 per year. So on its face, almost a $9,000 reduction in the cost of your software. And I really think you would end up with a piece of software that you could do a lot more with. You're really using about this much of the Tyler technology software, and you've got all of this underneath of it that we're just, it takes so much setup to make it do some of the things like the annual report that we're working on right now. It needs a lot of setup to be able to do that annual report, and it's never been set up, and you've had it for 20 years. And so we're manually creating this, annual report. And consequently, there are errors happening in the annual report because you're manually trying to gather all of these codes and adding them together, and we know that there were errors in last year's report because we didn't set up, but it takes hours to set up these different modules, and they're not a Montana software, so they don't set it up for you. You have to go in there literally and build it, and that just hasn't happened in all this time, and so that's causing you problems. And there's just a variety of things like that. The payroll itself, to roll over, well, for one thing, to roll over to a new year, you literally shut down the software and you start with a new software module, and you have to rebuild it. And just rebuilding the payroll piece alone is a 13-page document with about 20 to 25 items on each of those pages that you need to go through those one at a time in order to create the payroll in the new system. And we had to do that this year because you're ready to go. And actually Black Mountain, if you let them know right now that you're interested in a change, you're still 7 to 8 months out. They can't do a change. So we're going to go through this next year using the software that you have, but we're just going to make payroll with it, which is all set up because we had to do that to make our first payroll, and pay bills with it, and move toward a transition. There is a cost to transitioning, and that is about $15,000. You will recoup that in 2 years savings on Tyler technology, right? Because you're going to reduce your cost by $9,000 a year. So we've just seen a lot of issues with it, and you're bringing on a new clerk.
Right.
And this is a perfect opportunity to set her up for success. I really believe that if you bring someone on and try to muddle your way through Tyler, they might last 3 to 6 months. And then they're just gonna because they're gonna spend all their time on the software, and there's so much else to do. The software should be doing the work, not the other way around. And so I just really think for you to move forward, have good monthly reports for the board, really be able to use the depth and breadth of it rather than just the minimum to get you by. I would recommend a change, and I realize that that's a big undertaking, but again, I think you're in that position. You're gonna have a new person anyway. In her training, we thought we would concentrate on the other things that she could be learning, and then when she makes the transition to Black Mountain, they will do a ton of training. They will train her. You won't be paying us to train her for that move. So I think there's savings to be had all the way around by making a move, and then actually having a piece of software that your new clerk has a ghost of a chance using. So
I think it also helps, the fact that there are more districts around that we found Black Mountain, so that the new clerk can reach out and get assistance from colleagues in the area, which is another support piece. Because we were a little bit of a loss and we couldn't find a good match for what Tyler had, and who had Tyler.
yes, that was an excellent point, yes.
That was another reach that we had to do, so this way they could help, there's a little bit more camaraderie and support for each other.
Yeah, because Thompson Falls, Hot
Yeah.
Springs,
Hot
all your
Springs, they
people,
all do.
they're out of Polson. Black Mountain is in Polson, you know, that's
Oh,
their,
so they're really
that,
close.
yeah, they're Montana company.
Yeah, and I think that's the other part, Montana company, the others left and are in Texas now, right? I think they're in
And I
Texas
don't
or
even know,
someplace.
they've been sold so many times.
Yeah, so they don't have their focus on being homegrown and for Montana schools.
Yep.
And Montana reporting, it's not their priority. Look
So
at that.
it's informational, we won't make any, votes on it today, but it does sound like in the next few months we'll have to make a decision because it will take 7 to 8 months to
Just to get
transition
on the
into it.
list.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions, anything that they wanna comment on this potential, Black Mountain software transition? Yeah, we come up to the podium.
Yes, I will.
Thanks, Lisa.
When I first looked through the board packet and I saw the estimate, I thought, holy crap, that's a lot of money. But then after listening to the explanation and how much more efficient this could make our accounting system, it seems like a relative no-brainer when it's cheaper in the long run. I see that they have training available on site. I mean, everything about it seems to make more sense than the Tyler, when the Tyler was so cumbersome. At least that's what I've heard from several school clerks. So, anyway, for what it's worth, it seems like something that would be a valuable change, especially if it works better for Montana's school accounting system.
And if it's something that's gonna support our business managers and district
Yeah.
clerks better, so they don't get
Exactly.
overrun and.
More
Yeah.
efficient, thank you.
Make the
Thank
job
you.
easier, right? Any other comments, questions? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for that presentation. I'm excited to dig into what Mountain might look like. Okay. Consideration and possible action to approve the 25-26 out-of-district attendance agreements, which we have in front of us. Entertain a motion for that?
I make a motion that we approve the 2025-26 out-of-district attendance agreements.
A second.
Any questions or comments about this? We won't be saying any people's names, but any questions about what this? We have to approve it. Some people might wanna know why. Correct. That happens a lot, think about policy updates, it's a process.
Ask that question tomorrow when we have training.
Yeah, write that one down for Bia.
Could I comment on it?
Yes.
So this is the paperwork that goes with that tuition block. This is the document that you collect and then ultimately pay from. And you'll probably see them throughout the year. You'll be seeing many more than what's here on the table tonight. Because when school starts, there'll be a flood of them, and every time a child moves into the district, if they're from outside the district, they'll bring one, and you absolutely have to approve it. So it seems redundant to even have them, because you can't not approve them, so.
I find that a lot, the government board, We're just, okay, that doesn't make sense, it's not always logical. Mhm. Did you vote on it? Yes.
Colleen? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Yes. A few of those were yes, yeah. Okay, consideration and possible action for the 25-26 individual transportation contract. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the 2025-26 individual transportation contract.
Second. Now, can I ask a question?
Yes.
How is that different than the MOU for your transportation?
So this particular transportation contract is a parent who is going to drive their student to the school, and we're giving them permission to do that.
Okay, correct.
With reimbursement.
Yes, with reimbursement, correct.
Monica?
Yes.
Colleen? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration and possible action to approve the 2025-2026 bus drivers. Entertain a motion for that?
I move that we approve the 25-26 bus driver list.
I'll second.
Any comments on that?
Why are we, they're his employees, are they not?
Mhm.
Why are we dictating what he can and cannot do in this business?
So, I don't know why we have to approve the bus drivers. Does anybody else wanna field that?
Probably because they drive the children.
And part of it though, he is in charge, you're right, and he.
I'm sure that's what it is.
We'll let
It
Dr.
takes
Walsh answer that.
And Chad, feel free to jump in, okay? I know you're in the dark over there, but, it's his company, it's his drivers, this is true, but informational to the board, what if? You know, he has cleared them and he knows, but what if they come before you and the community knows something about someone that nobody else knows, that could get overlooked, that would be a safeguard,
That's true.
right?
Yeah, cause there's background checks, there's driving records, there's drug testing, there's a bunch of different stuff that criteria has to be met. And then once all that's submitted and it's OPI standards,
Mhm.
then the final approval of those individuals.
Right, so you approve them, and 99.9% is never a problem,
Correct.
but this is just what if? What if a name appeared on this list and you knew something or felt some way and you would hold back on that until it could be further investigated? I doubt very much there's ever gonna be a error on this. Chad has done a phenomenal job with this, it's his business, it's livelihood, he knows what he's doing. But I think it's just, you know, and then we put it to OPI, so it's really double check, if you will.
Then it goes before us just as a final stopping point, just to make sure.
Right.
It's just an extra layer of protection
Yeah,
for
absolutely,
children.
for children, it's in play, yeah, there. Okay. Good?
Yes. Monica? Yes. Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration and possible action for the 2025-26 bus route approvals. I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the 25-26 bus route for bus routes.
I'll second.
So are questions about this particular agenda item?
Yes. Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Personnel, school nurse resignation, Sequoia Liddell. I would entertain a motion on that.
I make a motion that we approve, Sequoia Liddell's letter of resignation.
Second.
Anyone, comments, concerns?
I have a comment.
Okay, we
Once
call-
again, I'm Lisa Brown, math teacher, Plains High School. I'm also a grandparent of a few kids that have come and gone through here, most of them are still in here. And Sequoia's done an amazing job. Her professionalism, her ability to give me a call, say if a certain grandson cuts himself and he's maybe a meme on it, to say, come on, let's go. Or hold him while he gets a shot. Sequoia's awesome for that. She knows all that stuff and she knows who to talk to, and she was amazing, and I'm gonna miss her because she's one of ours.
I would echo that. I had a granddaughter that went here and she's kind of a malingerer. And she was in Sequoia's office all the time. And I was talking to her on the phone and she handled that so graciously. I really appreciate her. So it's with great sorrow that we
Yes.
approve the resignation.
Erica Blair, and I would just say that I worked with Sequoia in supplying young girls with the supplies they needed, and she handled it with a ton of grace, and I think gave a lot of girls a lot of confidence that probably didn't get that direction from home. And it's gonna be a huge void in that particular point in this district. I hope that you find somebody that can help those young girls navigate that, who don't get that anywhere else, so good luck.
I will echo, Sequoia has one of the most kindest hearts I've ever seen, and I know we've worked really hard to secure her job here because we love her presence here. She will be hard to replace.
You're a good one.
Monica?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, paraprofessional resignation, Erin Miller. Entertain a motion on that?
I would propose that we accept, Erin Miller's letter of resignation as a paraprofessional.
Second. I don't know her.
Just part of the process.
Part of the process, yeah. Usually when they resign,
If they
we
resign,
can't
I
force them
can't.
to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard. Again, one of those, we have to go through the motions because we can't force them to stay. Although there'd be a handful of people still here if we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, any comments on that?
Monica?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. And now we'll rectify that. Second grade teacher hire, Erin Miller. I would entertain a motion on that.
Again, don't know her, but yeah, I move that we hire her.
I'll second that.
Any comments on this agenda item?
Miss Miller is, I believe, still in her classroom, trying to prepare, and she asked if she should come down here, and so if she's not here, you can blame me, because I said, no, just do what you're doing in the classroom, so she did want to come down and didn't feel like it was necessary, so I told her she did not have to.
If I can piggyback on what Mr. Meredith just said, she's very loyal to us. She's been filled many gaps that we had when we needed them, she jumped in, and now that she's on the threshold of getting everything done that she needs as teacher, she's a good fit for the school.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Skills USA Advisor Resignation, Kyle Mitchell. And I would entertain a motion for that.
I propose we accept the resignation of Kyle Mitchell for Skills USA Advisor.
I'll second.
Any comments on that agenda item?
Did he say why? Oh.
That resignation that I can't share.
I'm handing out an email. My name's Kyle Mitchell. I've been the Skills USA advisor since 2017. At that time, this program's become increasingly successful. We've gone to state national competitions, and I'm handing out this email because I don't feel like this email was probably fully read.
I fully read it, I promise.
Okay.
I read it too.
So,
Yes.
to clarify this email there, read the rest of us, on July 2nd, I sent an email entitled the Skills USA Stipend Discussion to Dr. Walsh, Dr. Bencher. The purpose of the email was to advocate for the increase of the stipend for the Skills USA advisor position. I explained that I would not be renewing my Skills USA advisor contract under the current stipend of $1,480, as it did not adequately reflect the consideration of time and commitment estimated, and time commitment used, which is an estimate about 250 hours a year. Okay. I emphasize the value of Skills USA brings to the district, such as securing the grant, increasing grants, increasing career and technical education funding, providing scholarship opportunity to students, over $50,000 in the last 3 years, and showcasing our students' success at state and national levels. I suggest either an hourly rate realigned with the after-school program rate, which is what currently funds the stipend, or a stipend comparable to a high school head coach, would ensure that a fair compensation for the work and enable me to continue advising Skills USA for the high school students. Regrettably, I never was invited to discuss my concerns. 2 weeks later, I received an email acknowledging my resignation. If a lack of funding is cited for the reason for not increasing the stipend, I can show you the grant that I wrote that secured the program, that secures CTE programs like Skills USA would cover the costs. I feel the situation serves yet another illustration of the challenges faced by the school district faces in attracting schools willing to work, advisors, coaches, and others. And coaches for the school district. Such difficulties to fill positions like this include the district clerk, athletic director, honor society, junior high girls basketball, etc. Ultimately, I'm a strong supporter of the opportunities that CTSOs like Skills USA offer our students. However, I cannot justify time away from my family for a compensation amount that is less than $6 an hour, which is well below Montana's minimum wage. Thank you for your time and consideration. If there are any questions regarding this topic, please ask me.
Would you be willing to stay if there was a different stipend?
So we did submit this to legal, and had them read it through to see what we need to do with that, and they said the only course, given what you wrote in the CBA, we just had to accept your resignation. So we did what legal asked us to do. So we did make sure that all of that went where it needed to.
consent decree. So that's where I'm at, okay? So,
That sucks.
We made sure we did everything through legal to know exactly what we were looking at.
But there's still a question of.
But you could've
the-
called-
The articles that he brought.
Yeah.
Again.
There's memorandum of understandings going on all the time,
Could've called him.
yeah.
Mr. Weaver?
Who advised you on that?
MTSBA,
You
that
said
is our legal counsel,
That's your legal counsel.
correct.
And they advised you to go ahead and take this action?
They said that the only thing we could do is accept that as a resignation, absolutely. That was their,
Even though it doesn't say resignation anywhere in that email?
I read the email too, I don't know, guys, I'll tell you what, I
that's why
don't,
we sent it, just to make
I don't know Kyle,
Mm-hmm.
other than, you know, he worked with my grandsons, and I find it somewhat ironic that the very night that we honor these kids for their wonderful achievements, that we have a motion to accept a resignation that's, I would justify, I read the thing, that's a marginal resignation. And, I would just say, it, you gotta, I don't know who your counsel is, I'd like to talk to him. But you gotta, give me that information, I'll call him and talk to him. But you gotta realize how you treat people. You don't honor these kids and then turn around 15 minutes later and, act on a supposed resignation when the guy is just asking for a discussion on salary. That's essentially, I read it, that's all he wanted to do, he wanted to sit down with you guys and talk about if there were any monies, cause he's putting in a lot of hours for this job, and he just wanted to talk about if there was a chance that he could have a salary thing.
and so that's why I went through legal, so they could answer that question for me personally, I had that question.
You know, whoever you talk to, you tell them what's going on here in the district. You tell them why people are upset, because this is not how you treat people.
They're looped in a lot, yeah.
And give me his name and his number if you would.
I don't think I'm allowed to, because I don't think the district can pay for you to talk to them,
I can talk to him as a citizen.
but I can tell you that we definitely looped him in, and I had that very specific question, so.
Okay, I'll look it up, I can find it probably on my own.
Yep,
I'll visit
MTSBA.
with him. Because he gave you some P4 advice, in my opinion. That's probably all I'll say about that.
Thank you. Christina, up to the podium. Rest assured, me
Trista
on this
Weiss
part of
Brown.
the board, I think Hal's done a great job, that's not what this is about.
My name is
turn it
Trista
down.
Weiss Brown.
say no.
I resigned for sure, like I specified that in my letter. But speaking for Kyle Mitchell, who literally built this program from the ground up, and it's the reason it's successful, like choosing to gut it, because you did make a choice, you could have had a discussion with him without legal, we all know that. Choosing to gut the program for whatever motives you have is a very poor decision. It is not in the best interest of our students. It is not in the best interest of the program, and it is not in the best interest of anything in our district. You guys just keep this culture of no, and our students are losing, and you wonder why enrollment is declining. Thank you.
So I will say, none of us want Mr. Mitchell to go, but yes, everything we do is scrutinized amongst everything, so we make sure it all goes through legal, just to make sure.
All right, Susie Von Heater, why can you not say no? Why
I
can
not
you
say
vote
no?
it down? Why can you not say no? Why can you not say no? It's just advice. It is only advice. You guys have the power to say no. So why do you not say no? No, he stays. Figure it out, talk to him. Why don't you guys talk to him? Say no, it's only advice. You do not have to do that. It's up to you guys to decide, and he's done a kick job, has he not?
Oh,
Then
yeah.
say no. Why can you not say no? Why can you not say no?
I think that there are legal things that MTSBA
It's
has
advice,
to go through.
it's advice.
But because there's other things involved around CBAs and things like that, it's not as simple as the email, and so it could be worked through,
We've
but
had
it has to be
MOUs
done.
all the time. There's all sorts of MOUs. We have one, he has approved one tonight.
He's not under a CBA, you are.
We've had other stuff changed. It's happened
But
before. We've
that's-
had it when we had people do, sex ed for certain things. We adjusted the CBA for that.
So why can you not do that tonight?
This would be something we'd have to do through legal. We could not do it tonight. We have to accept resignation, then we can move forward with reorganizing what it looks like with
You do
legal
not
help.
you don't have to accept his resignation, you can say no.
Is it possible, Mr. Mitchell, that you don't really want to resign? That you really
I
just wanna have a conversation with us?
Yeah, the whole point was to have a conversation. That was what I wrote up. That's what that whole thing was. It was supposed to be a discussion.
Could you withdraw your resignation and ask for,
Legal told us they couldn't, he could not rescind it.
why?
Because of the way it was written, and when we submitted it to them to look at. Yeah, it's a little more complicated than just roll it
Colleen,
back,
keep digging.
but we will work with MTSBA
Keep
on that.
digging.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day,
Because
we
this
would like
makes
to
no
see him
sense.
reapply
because
for the
this is an
position.
incredible program.
Absolutely, and he has done it.
Yeah.
And the way it was written, you could have said, hey, let me talk to you, Mitchell, let's talk about this, but did that happen?
Anna, that's not true, you're not bound by what that guy.
You're not, you're not.
There's no legal obligation. You're a school board, you're a separate legal entity in and of yourself.
It just means we don't wanna move forward without MTSBA supporting us through it to keep us out of lawsuits.
Can we
So
table,
will
can
continue
we
with that.
I'm
table
not
the
gonna sue you.
resignation?
My name is Kiara Brown, and I am in Skills USA. And I woke up at 5 in the morning and was there all day for fair to help fundraise to go to nationals. I got top 10 in nationals for extemporaneous speaking. Do you know what extemporaneous speaking is? Do you know how to make a speech in 5 minutes and then say it has to be 3 to 5 minutes long? I didn't know, but I still did it. And Mitchell helped me do that. Even if I didn't want to, he was like, come on. I'd go to the corner, I'd take, let's see here, 5 minutes, have a timer, I would say it to one of my friends. Basically winging it, like I am just now. But
Doing a great job though.
But my stepsister Tierney has gone to nationals so many times because of Mitchell. And I don't want to lose this program because then I'd have to go either to Darby or one of the other schools, and I would rather just do it here where I can go up to the old art room because it was right next to wrestling practice too, so that was convenient. But I stayed after hours with my stepmother because she was an advisor and she helped everyone get their stuff ready, even if it was kind of a pain in the butt for some. But please don't get rid of this program, honestly. Like, Mitchell's a great advisor.
So let's separate that out. The program and Mr. Mitchell are not exactly the same thing, and nobody here wants to get rid of the program, and it was not on my height to get a letter that our legal said was him resigning. That was not something I asked for, nor something that I liked.
But if you get rid of Mitchell, you're kind of getting rid of the program. So, but
So,
Kira, I'm proud of you, honey, for putting all that together.
so can you table this tonight and discuss with your legal or whatever you wanna do? And then get back with Mitchell and figure out what you're gonna do? Because it is a shame to get rid of him. He doesn't want to be done, but he does deserve to get paid what he should be getting paid. So can you table this?
I'm not going to table it. I think we need to vote on it, and then I will share with you guys the emails. Thought I did, it's been a while ago. Did you get them? Yeah, I did, okay, I did send them. And then we can talk about that with legal.
Are you done with comments?
No, you can keep going.
I'm Joel Colley, and I was able to accompany Skills USA to nationals last year and this year, which was great. Just as a helper, no official capacity, but it was a great experience. Both of my daughters have gone to nationals, and it was a good experience. We have been plagued and damaged by resignations in this district. It's hurt. It's been hard for everyone, hard for you guys, I know. there's no reason to accept a resignation that wasn't given. That's ridiculous. Are you guys bound to legal's advice? No, definitely not. I understand the fear. I am not totally ignorant on employment law and what that takes. I'm not a legal advisor either. But I know you guys are bound to someone, and those people have spoken. You've heard them. They're not bound to legal. You're not required to accept a resignation that doesn't exist. I do have one question, because obviously I feel like I've missed it. When you received the email and you reached out to Mitchell and said, is this the way you meant to word this, or can we word this differently? What was his response? Prior to the time to reply. Nothing?
It was sent directly to legal to make sure I could decipher what I was looking at through legal eyes.
So, I think it's pretty clear that that wasn't the intent. And the person who wrote the letter is here and has made it clear it's not the intent. Legal has nothing to do with it. And if we're at the point where legal runs these meetings, why are you guys here?
Why do we pay them to cover us? Why do we pay them to cover us? Because we need coverage. So if we step out of line with what they've asked us to and we're not sure that that's a good way to move, then I would say we don't do that.
I'll tell you what, I pay a lot of people to give me bad advice. I do, and then I make a decision. And that's what I expect from you guys. You guys have never heard me complain about anything. But I am gonna make my expectations clear, and then I will continue to support the student the best I can, no matter what you guys do. Because I don't support us, I support the kids, our community. But you are not bound to legal. You are not. You are bound to the people in this room. Thank you.
Erica Lawyer, so fundamentally I have to ask, as someone who manages people and I've been doing it for about 25 years, when you have someone come to you and they're not happy, I mean, my first thing is I have a ton of money into training them. I wanna try to get to the root cause of why, and then let's sit down and talk about it. That's an administrative job. That, like, why did it ever get here to begin with, so that we didn't have a clearer understanding where we're taking it to legal? My fundamental question is, why are we at this impasse now where you guys feel like you're backed up against a wall? I feel bad for you, because it should have never gotten to this when the letter was clearly saying, I need to talk about this, and that conversation never happened. Like, why? Like, you and I have disagreed on a lot of stuff. I can't believe I'm standing here advocating, but here I am. But right is right, no matter who it is. And fundamentally, as people who work together, I hope we all care about each other enough to go, whoa, there's a breakdown here and we need to get to the bottom of it before it gets here and gets ugly. And so I'm hoping that maybe the question is, can we backtrack this one space and say, maybe this wasn't handled administratively correctly where we had the conversation and then it went to the board for this? As an administrator myself, I can't help but ask that question. And I will mirror. Legal advice is just that. It's advice, but at the end of the day, you have a calling to do the right thing for your community and the kids in our district. And sometimes we don't always follow the legal advice because we know there might be a fallout, but what's the worst part of that fallout? Like, it's cost-benefit analysis. It's not a zero-sum game all the time. So I really hope that you take that into consideration when you go to vote on this or table it against legal advice until everybody has a chance to really look at this. Because when a young woman gets up and speaks like that, I'm so impressed. And I'm sorry, but I think it's so offensive when a young woman comes up here and asserts herself and she's met with honey, especially in a public meeting. I just would ask that we all treat, women have worked really hard to have some respect, and it's just, I think, disrespectful. So I just wanted to make that point too.
I was a little fired, I can't calm down. You guys guys are a legal entity in and of yourselves, not as the individual board members, but as a board, you are a legal entity that serves the voters and the people of this school district. And, that person that you talk to only gives advice. But the bottom line is you guys are the legal entity. I know it would be highly unusual, and I've never seen it done before. And I've been on school board, and I've never even heard of it. When somebody puts in a letter of resignation, although this one is very questionable if it was a resignation. I would urge you board members, because it sounds like you're not gonna table it. You're gonna go ahead and vote. I would go ahead and vote on it, second it, and I would challenge you board members to see what's right and to vote no. Do not accept this man's resignation. In doing so, you will feel the legal obligation of the advice that was given to you. And I can't believe that you want to do that. Monica, you got boys sitting here that took third in the national. You know, it's beyond me. Yeah, make your motion, second it, and, you know, if I were on the board, I know what my vote would be. And I would challenge you to do that.
Thanks, Maureen.
So I would agree, the resignation came across questionable, and I didn't know what we could do with it, and that is why I sent it to legal when it came to me, because it did look questionable.
So then talk to him.
Ken Nelson. Sounds like I'm about to be the last man standing in your non-sports coaching with my student council. You know,
There's drama too.
Drama,
Don't
okay.
leave Terry out.
All right. I didn't want to do this alone.
Stand strong.
You know, this has been 3 years now of here's this small issue, can we talk? Silence and then overreaction. This really feels like something that could have been handled with a conversation. Even if the conversation was to say, I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell, there is no extra money. We are tight, we are over budget, there's nothing we can do. But by doing so, you've shown respect to the program he built and the educator that he is. Also, you can do that and then go consult legal. You can consult legal and then go have that conversation.
It was my intention. They didn't, what
It
do I
shouldn't
have
have
for
been.
bargaining?
And all respect, Mona,
What was I
it
allowed to
shouldn't
talk
have been
about?
you. It should not have come as high as you. You have,
Possibly not.
the only tool you own is the hammer. It should have been handled when there was a bit more finesse. It should have been handled with a meeting. What are these issues? What's available to us? What are you willing to accept? Hey, would you take this if we found you an assistant? Would you? But there was no conversations. There was only. But that can't be your default. That can't be your guys' default answer. For years, it's been the default. Stone silence, it boils over, no one has any confidence, and we move on to the next one. Please, vote it down, cause a mess, as Jim Holland is famous for saying, let them sue you. Let them sue you.
I don't think my health could take that, so no, I'm not gonna do that. I've been through
It'll
that.
be
Not
fine.
gonna get there.
No,
It's
it's
not
not
gonna
gonna
get there. Trust your
Thanks.
people.
So, yes.
Thanks.
I had a couple questions. Why does it have to be done tonight? Why does it have to be done tonight? What is the reason? Or if you don't like this guy's counsel, is there somebody else you can talk to in the office?
Not in the office.
Well,
However, as we've been sidebarring, we have training tomorrow with a different entity that we think maybe would be good to put their thoughts up against it. and so we'll table it and we will bring that to a different attorney tomorrow to see what their advice would be.
Well, and
Because following MTSBA they were very clear. He can't withdraw it, and yeah,
And he can't sit down with anybody either at MTSB, whatever it is.
MTSBA.
So now we'll find out, clarify all the areas.
Okay. And then there is something else, like when my husband coached in our league, they did pretty good. And they had programs, if you went through the season, we went to districts. If you won districts and you got to go to divisional, there was a reward program for that. You got $300, if you went to state, you got an extra because you go 2 extra seasons, 2 extra weeks at least to go, and you put that much more time in. And so, with Mr. White, he's done so well, they go to state, he should be rewarded for that.
and that's
He
a part of
really
their,
should.
it's a part of their CBAs that they have made, so they probably have a CBA that includes that. I don't, not to say it can't be a conversation, but that would be a CBA add-on that we could work on this next year.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
there
collective
should be a
bargaining.
reward system and monetary systems that they get rewarded for that.
I'm Wendy Puelo Colley, and I would just like clarification. In the email, anywhere, was there the word resignation?
Yes,
No, read it.
to not renew my contract in the Skills USA advisor at the current compensation rate. And that's where you ran into it. 'cause we
So
couldn't change
the
his
word
compensation.
resignation was not in there. That was put into his mouth.
To not
by the
renew, he
board.
did not want to go for another contract next year, he was non-renewing.
So could,
So it's
Based
a
on
year-to-year
discussion.
contract, so,
Based on discussion.
so each year they're not expected that they'll have the same position, it's a year-to-year contract, he just said he was not looking to renew his contract.
That's not
At
what
that
it
rate. And if the rate isn't changing, then he's withdrawing it. So if we keep the stipend the same, which is the plan, he is not renewing his contract.
I find this terrifying, honestly. Like if the teacher comes and says, I need $100 more for books, can we talk about this? And the next thing they know, they're on the agenda for resigning? I don't understand that.
Well, no, it would be if the teacher came to us and said, I am not going to come back to school here next year unless you add another $100 to my, we can't do that, it's part of the CBA, so we would have to accept the resignation. because
Or
that's how
you
it's
would have
written.
talked to them. Somebody would have talked to them and said, whoa, back up.
Where's the
What?
$100 coming from? Potentially. Not me.
Could have started with the conversation.
Not me, I would not have had that conversation.
Costs are going up, we all know that. And again, I just find it really scary that somebody wants a conversation and then they show up on the agenda as resigning. It's a
So-
scary precedent to set, to start.
The email did come across a little bit strong. That could have been either, I'm not going to take this position unless you increase my rate. Well, if we're not increasing the rate, then you have formally resigned. That
But
is
you're
exactly how it is written.
assuming that.
However, huh?
Everybody was assuming that.
No, that's what he said.
You
I'm
need
not
to talk to
gonna
him though.
renew it,
Find
yeah.
out why. Why was he so upset? Why did he need to know? So, not
So
you.
what- So
Other
what
people
we're going
needed
to do, we're going to table
administration
this,
needed
and
to.
we will take this up
Good.
with other legal counsel to
That's good.
compare the two.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank
it's
you.
tabled. You're welcome. I am not anti-Skills USA, and I'm not anti-Kyle Mitchell.
No. And neither am I,
Right,
for
just so everyone knows. This is not an anti or a no thing, this is a following the law. Okay. Okay. Skills USA 21st Century Program Advisor resignation, Trista Feist Brown. Take a motion?
I propose we accept Trista Price Brown's resignation for the Skills USA 21st Century Program Advisor, I hope.
I'll second.
Now, Trista, didn't she just say that this was?
It was an actual
My name's-
resignation.
My name's Kyle Mitchell, and I just wanna thank Krista Price Brown so much for what you're doing, for what you did for our kids. Okay, you and I are an awesome team, like yin and yang. Like, yeah, you're, and I'm like, ooh. So, thank you for what you've done, it's been awesome. You've been awesome too.
our Skills USA kids. The junior high program has been phenomenal. So,
A short time.
such a short time, such passion, dedication, loyalty, commitment, not unnoticed. Okay.
Robert?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
No. I
Yes.
feel that many of the things that, reasons that Trista gave for resigning are similar to the ones that Mr. Mitchell have, and I think, I'm concerned that maybe we overlooked something in dealing with this personally. And so I would like to say, I would not like Trista to resign.
There
you go.
Oh, I said no.
Okay, we did, but we still have to accept it as a board when it resigns.
I understand,
Yeah.
I got outvoted,
Yes.
but I still vote no.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right,
Okay, ticket taker hires, Larry Joe Abbott, Terry Henry, and Emily Kawila. I would entertain a motion.
I move we accept the hires of Maria Olga, Terry Henry, and Emily Cooper.
I'll second.
Any comments on that? Yeah, we can vote on that.
Yes.
Monica?
Yes. Robert.
Yes.
Lana?
Yes. Elementary principal contract negotiation. We have that in front of us. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the elementary principal contract negotiation.
Second.
Any comments, questions on that?
What is it? I mean, what's the negotiation?
Yes. Do you wanna share?
Sure.
Yeah, let's have him do that.
I just submitted a letter to the board asking for an additional 3 personal days for my contract. Currently, the principal contracts get 6 personal days, so I'm asking for 9 total. I felt that that was something that is of value to me right now, that is not something that, as we talked about a lot tonight, does not affect nearly as much our funding situation.
Kev, you need a raise.
Agreed.
You need a bonus.
Okay. Let's vote.
Colleen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes. Robert.
Yes.
Yes. Acceptance of Plains PTA financial report. We don't make any, votes on this, it's just acknowledging that we got it. So, we do have that. Do we have to vote to accept it, or just?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Yes, yes.
You don't have to
Huh?
discuss it, yes, you have to
You
discuss it.
do?
We haven't
It's
received
board
it.
Would you like to make a
Board
motion
policy.
that we've received it?
I move that we receive the Plains PTA financial report.
I'll second.
It's anything we have control over, just that we've received it.
So as being part of the PTA that set this up, we're following board policy that says that as a board, you need to be privy to the financial statements of anybody who's making money off of your, to take college name, likeness, all of that. So I'm curious, because this is the second year now that PTA has done that, and I've never seen Booster Club submit this. And it is driven by board policy that this is a requirement. So will that be happening? It's written in PTA bylaws. I'm a Booster Club member, but I can admit to you, I've not been to a meeting in a very long time. So I'm just curious, when you accept this tonight, will that be appropriate for Booster Club at some point before the end of the fiscal year?
Absolutely a good thing to have on our radar, because I would not have thought about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and vote on that.
Yes.
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Consideration and possible action to accept increase in daily fees for daycare with the start of the 2025-2026 school year. I would entertain a motion.
I move we accept the increase in daily fees for daycare for the 25-26 school year.
I'll second.
Okay. Kevin, do you wanna speak to that, since I know you gave us the information?
Yeah, I can speak to it. In talking with Kristen Jurek, our daycare director, of course, one of the things that we want to make sure is that we can continue this program for as long as possible. When we started, we said if we can make 5 years, we consider it a success. I believe we're going to get there, fingers crossed. But in working with some of the programs in the state, there's a program called Best Beginnings that actually offers some reimbursement to parents to help them pay for their daycare costs. And we have had staff members in our district participate in that program. And their recommendation for prices for daycare is exactly where we pulled these numbers. And so we figured we would get in line with what they are recommending. And so those are the numbers you see before you.
Any comments? Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kyle Mitchell.
Welcome back.
My family's been fortunate enough to utilize the district daycare for the past 3 years, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the teachers and Kevin Meredith for his dedication to work in securing this grant and initializing this daycare. And sustaining its services. I wish to acknowledge the support of Tom Chisholm, because he was the one that sort of gave them the go-ahead with it, and Kathleen Walsh for ensuring that it continues to go. I appreciate that. And it's been a super valuable service to our family, especially. 3 years ago, my wife and I found ourselves in a challenging situation. Our previous daycare provider was no longer available. We were faced with the daunting task of finding a suitable care for our 2 boys. We searched for months, gathered advice from other parents within the community, and even considered the possibility of leaving Plains in search of employment in a community that offered reliable daycare. Alternatively, we contemplated taking time off of our teaching positions to care for our children. Fortunately, the district recognized the significant burden that obtaining childcare places on its employees like us, and developed a solution. Initially, when we first started 3 years ago, the cost of the daycare aligned with our previous provider. However, last year, just a week before school commenced, we were informed that the cost of daycare for us would increase by 40%. Okay. Once again, this prompted us to explore alternative options. This year, there's a possibility for any families that have 2 children in daycare could go up an additional 14%. The reason I'm speaking on this issue is that I believe that increasing the child care costs so close to the program start date is not appropriate, as it does not provide families with significant time to consider their options. If an increase is deemed necessary, I would advocate for its approval, but I suggest that it's not implemented for at least 2 months. In the future, my opinion would be the most appropriate time to update the cost of daycare would be at the end of the year. Thank you for your time and consideration on this issue.
Any other comments? So we have on the motion to pass what has been provided, and does it have an effective date? It doesn't have an effective date on it, so that is something that we can negotiate or talk about if you guys want to.
Now?
Do you wanna try for maybe, January 1, or?
It's really whatever us as a board decide, but it would have to be in the motion and then voted on.
So who determined or deemed it
The motion
necessary?
was, oh,
Sorry,
that's okay.
what individual deemed it necessary?
To increase rates,
Yes.
Mr. Meredith, in line with,
So,
the entity that,
Best Beginnings.
as beginnings. So it's equitable and,
so it's necessary.
the same with them.
Best Beginnings is a DEHSS process, and they administer scholarships throughout the area for daycare, and so they're very familiar with what the costs of daycare are. I feel pretty comfortable with recommendations that they make. I work with them quite a bit in my cost role.
Okay, thank you.
so the person, so Colleen,
I would ask a question of Kevin, however, is if we delayed the start date till January 1, how does that affect your budgeting?
Well, it would just mean we would go for these few months, charging probably the rate that we already had, so probably minimal impact. Yeah,
Cause there's still a surplus.
seems reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
Does that seem like a fair compromise? to you
I
guys
think
to-
so, cause then they have time to figure it out
We
and
budgeted
adjust.
ourselves.
Yes.
I'm fine with waiting.
so would you like to?
I'll amend my motion to accept the recommendation for the daily fees, but to, wait until January 1 to, what is that, 2026 to institute it.
Another second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other comments on this particular agenda item? Okay, I think we're good to go.
Yes.
Yes, Robert.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, consideration and possible action to accept the following policies. I do really like whoever gives us this little blurb. This is fantastic, Dr. Walsh. It makes it so much easier to understand why we're looking at these policies. So I apologize, it's a little dry. We don't really have a choice in these. These are brought down to us based on legislation that's gone through. It's just another rubber stamp of, yep, we're passing them. A lot of that in governmental stuff. With that, I would entertain a motion for the policy updates.
I make a motion that we accept the policy updates.
I'll second it.
All of them?
All of them.
Okay.
More to come, yeah.
Okay, any, comments, questions, concerns about the policy updates?
I'm Vicki Brown, and I'm questioning 2165. It used to say early literacy targeted intervention, and now it just says targeted intervention. What does that mean?
Targeted interventions provides a, support for any child that's showing a void. Could be an older child that has a need, as we talked about the other day when we were talking about volunteering and coming up and who could you help and who could you work for.
Yeah.
If we stick with the early childhood, you're limited a little bit more just to, K1s and 2s and pre-K. But this would be targeted, if teachers see a child who has a need, then we can focus on them. That's what Title I program does, it deals with a lot of the other children.
And also on the display, policy 8560, is that OPI or school specific?
So that one, I think, accidentally got tacked on. It's not one we're actually passing tonight. It just happened to get tacked on the back. It's not listed down here, so we're not actually voting on this one, the display of flags and banners on district property.
Okay, on 23.
It will be coming.
2335's health. It used to be health enhancement, now it's called human sexuality instruction. What grades is that?
This particular legislation is for K-12 schools, or pre-K included. It's not a specific age. It's if they're focused on any of these things, here are the laws around being able to address that, and what parental notices and having written permission for kids to participate in that.
And it says it shall include electronic link to materials or summary. And is that just for parents, or will that be on the website?
It is public information, and it's part of your right to, public's right to access information.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on policy updates?
I have a question,
Yeah.
does, since we just recently adopted the Harmony program, which allows homeschoolers to participate in some of our district policy or just programs, does that also allow the people that are participating in Harmony to qualify for the literacy intervention and testing?
Well, it should.
Sure.
But what Harmony does provide for them are their own mentors and tutors, so that would fill the void via Harmony's program.
Okay, I only asked because I thought it was a requirement or a requisite that they have to meet our criteria in order to,
And federal, and they're working closely with OPI as well, to meet the recommendations and what Montana does for their schools.
okay.
Monica?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Lana? I'm sorry, Colleen?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes. Okay, discussion and review of the district sports program. So this is a breakdown of all of our extracurriculars. So we're looking at it for community requests. So Gwen, do you wanna go over this with us as well? I know you put a lot of work into this, among other people, Catherine, Dr. Walsh, thank you for listening to community requests.
Russell as well.
Russell, yes, thank you, you guys did a lot of work on this.
So this, is a team packet, right?
Yep.
Can you see it? Thank you. So this is actually a look at just the high school sports and the sport activity. Let me see if I can make it up a little bigger and then we'll work our way across. Is listed on the far left-hand side, and just a review of the participants in the various sports and the managers, which are also typically students, and the paid coaches for each of these athletics. And it summarizes the coaches' pay, what we pay for officials in a span of a year, put a value on the cost of substitutes, when coaches are outside the classroom, and the leave that is taken, put a value on that, and the transportation costs. In some cases, a school car is taken, and these are the fuel costs, lodging, and the lodging is grouped here in post-season, so it's not tied to a particular sport, just whatever sport participates beyond the district level. And the meal costs, entry fees, and so the total cost, and then I just dropped in the sports again on this side so that you can see it right next to what these various sports cost. And so the income into this program is gate fees, right? They charge the people who come and watch the sports. And then the rest of it is funded by the district's general fund. And so, we tacked on here at the bottom, the fees that are paid to the Montana High School Association in order for you to have these sports. This is a look at minor equipment based on what's been purchased in the past, and supplies. And then here's the gate income. Oh, and there's also activity ticket sales fall into that. And so the total cost on the program for a year is about $142,000. You have approximately 116 students at the high school level, I believe. And so that looks at about $1,200 per student. And the idea just being to take a look at that. Plains offers a lot of sports, pretty much all of those that are sanctioned by the Montana High School Association, and just thought it was a good idea to take a look at the costs associated with those. And some discussion around just the total cost. Mostly it's kind of a budget consideration. Are we on the right track here? No judgment, just facts. Okay.
And just sort of watching enrollment, right? You can only have so many sports and fund them all with students if you have students, so that's gonna be a conversation moving forward as well. Yeah, do we have enough students to fill them all at some point? Thank you for this, because this has been for couple of years, people have been asking for that, and, you know, we just haven't really had a good handle on it. We pulled lots of people together to pull this information together. Okay, we're not voting on this or anything, but any comments, questions, concerns about the information? Erica? Yeah, come on up.
Trying to read this microscopically.
I got a hard
Slipping
copy.
on me, I know. Is there no gate income for wrestling or basketball? Like, it's not listed.
Well, wrestling and track, well,
I mean, I've been at basketball games.
Yeah.
There's gotta be, I mean, and I know there's
basketball.
6 officials a night because you've got rotating 3 referees, and I'm assuming gate covers referees, but is that gross or net gate income?
I can't guarantee any night that gate fees will cover officials. It depends on how many games we have and how many people show up.
Right, exactly.
Sometimes we do make out okay, and sometimes we do not.
Right, so I guess I'm just wondering, I mean, there's gate income for volleyball and football and cross-country. Like,
I think that might be under the wrong one.
like
Yeah,
cross-country,
that's-
I've never, did they charge a gate fee?
No, that's gotta be in the wrong line.
Yeah, so I guess I'm questioning the validity of some of these numbers. Track, boys track, but not girls, like,
It might just be set in the wrong spot, yeah.
well,
There's boys and girls basketball for sure have gating.
have gate, I mean,
Some of the boys and
especially
girls.
if it's gross and not net, then there has to be a number there. Net, maybe I could see nothing, but, I don't know.
Some of
I
the boys
spend a
and
lot
girls
of-
stuff is together because it's split up by MHSA, but we don't split it up in the
Right.
school, so it's either all on the boys or all on the girls, or
Right.
it's there, but it's just not.
Right, and I mean, after pretty extensive committee meetings for a year solid on a monthly where we went through all of this because we were trying to figure out if were we gonna have to do a pay-to-play model, and like some of these, there's gotta be numbers there that they couldn't just disappear. So maybe we can, like, if you guys are gonna take action on this, I hope this is just a cursory.
We're not taking action tonight.
I understand
Discussion,
that,
yes.
but I'm
Yeah.
saying we're starting to have the conversation,
Yes.
so I hope this is just cursory and nobody's taking this for gospel.
Yeah, this is a cursory, just kind of looking at it. Hopefully we'll have more conversations as time moves on. Just what can we support, what is fiscally responsible, obviously, and what does that look like?
Catherine and I'll take a look at it and make sure that we have the information in the right spot. I think that might be the problem, crux of the problem.
But thank you for all the work you have put in this so far, Mr. Cole.
Yeah, is there salaries on that?
Yes, coaches' pay is on here as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, it's got, how many participants did we have this last year? How many managers, how many paid coaches were there? How much was the coach pay for each sport is broken out? How much the official fees were this last year for those sports? And I know they worked really hard to make sure that if they were looking at needing a sub, it was a particular sub for a teacher who was actually doing the sport, not because they were at a doctor's appointment or something. They really worked to make sure it was just connected to what coach they were sport they were coaching. Yeah, and then it looks at, you know, what it costs to transport them, whether it was the bus or the flex or whatever. And then entry fees into their tournaments or whatever it is they have to participate in, so just it's a great start to the discussion. It's a good overall for us to have a place to start discussing what this looks like. You know, things that fuel this, finances, enrollment, can we support all of them? Should we support all of them? Do we need to move to a pay-to-play? Like, what are the options around this to make sure what we have is viable? A very, very unpopular conversation, right? But we'll start there. It's a good conversation, and I'm hoping for lots of workshops around that. Because I like my workshops. Okay. And then I hope everyone comes. Tomorrow night we have board training, 5 p.m. right here. The public is welcome to come, sit. You can't really participate a lot, but it's good to learn what we're learning, what we're held accountable to, so that when you have a thought and you go, oh, wait, I can't do that, or, hey, I heard you can do this, why aren't you doing this, right?
Can I ask why we're paying Montana School, Eric, the lawyer again, can I ask why we're paying Montana School Boards Association $7,500, and I thought that was part of their covered services was board training, and now we're outsourcing it to another attorney.
I mean, it seems like we're bleeding legal fees, like, what, this last spring, there was 2 months, it was $12,000 in legal fees, but I'm just curious, why?
I will answer that later.
I think part of the decision for that was we really weren't getting adequate information from MTSBA on many areas. Nothing that was concrete enough in some areas. I know, we got a lot of help from MTSBA. I'm not gonna say we didn't, but when it came to certain things, and the board wanted to get a new look and more information, go in depth, especially passing the legislation. There were a lot of changes, a lot of up-to-date rules and regulations, which even just last week, they had a whole workshop on.
But this last spring, didn't you all vote to renew your contract
We
with
did.
Montana School Boards Association? So knowing all of that, you chose to renew that contract? And maybe not seek out Ms. Cavella's expertise before you voted on, I don't know. I'm
Well,
just-
some of it's outsourcing it, so we get the best information possible, and the board gets the best training and up-to-date training as well. When talking to other superintendents, they use Cavella for the training for their board, because she is more accurate, she is more on point, she is more current in what, she tells us, as opposed to a few folks who do the training on, MTSBA. That's all I can tell you.
But I believe there are districts that just utilize her law service
Yeah.
and dropped MTSBA.
Yeah, and
so-
some have both.
Yeah.
And some have both, you're right. Some did drop her, drop them, but some have both. I've checked that out with a couple.
Yeah.
Thompson has both. You have both. Good point, though.
Yeah, good point. We chose to use her for the training, and if there's other legal things moving forward that are not covered under that, we may utilize VIA in place of. Because we would have to pay out of pocket either way, so. Good question. Okay, we're adjourned, 9:07.